The search for Nancy Guthrie has reached a critical and what many are calling a devastating juncture as law enforcement faces a massive internal fracture that threatens to derail the hunt for the 84-year-old mother.
With us now is Josh Gill. He is the incident commander for the United Cajun Navy. The group has just been deployed. They're on the ground in Tucson helping volunteers.
With Savannah's video was speaking to a person or a group of people that the FBI or sheriff's deputies may have.
Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Today's Show co-host Savannah Guthrie, has now been missing for 3 full weeks.
It was 1:47 in the morning. An 84-year-old woman's front door camera suddenly went dark. No alarm, no scream, no shattered glass, just silence.
We bought a pack of 100 of these for just $10, and they look very similar to the ones worn by the intruder.
Nancy Guthrie is the mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie.
FBI Director Kash Patel made this release through the social media website X.
Days later, the FBI released images that would grip the nation. A masked man, dark clothing, gloves, a backpack, standing on Nancy Guthrie's porch. And then, just as suddenly, the footage ended. But now, something doesn't add up.
Sure that they are working on, if you will, a composite. Based on the eyes, based on the mouth, we do think we see a mustache. Perhaps there's a beard under that mask as well.
Cover the raid as the desperate search for Nancy intensifies. And joining me now is former FBI Supervisory Special Agent Jason Pack.
Is being tested. The FBI says it matches the glove that was on the suspect in the surveillance videos we've seen.
Because according to 2 law enforcement officials who spoke to NBC News, one of those images may not have been taken that morning at all, which raises a chilling question. If that photo wasn't from the night she vanished, then what exactly happened to Nancy Guthrie? And was she ever kidnapped in the first place?
We are going to turn now to the search for Nancy Guthrie, who disappeared, as you know, from her home on February 1st. The urgent investigation, now nearly a month.
Is that an issue? I mean, I don't think it had rained at that point, but it's still, outside here in Arizona.
Who was Nancy Guthrie? Before the headlines, before the speculation, before the masked man, there was Nancy. Nancy Guthrie was 84 years old, a mother, a grandmother, a woman described by friends as disciplined, devout, and deeply routine-driven.
Well, Josh, newsworthy updates from the sheriff's office and the FBI are slowing down, but that does not mean this investigation is. No one wants this case to go cold.
So to name someone publicly, you need enough corroborating evidence. So physical evidence, digital evidence, witness identification.
Investigators are open to the possibility the suspect had an accomplice, though there's no new evidence. There is no additional video from her home security system. There is no vehicle of interest.
She lived in the Tucson area of Arizona, a quiet neighborhood framed by desert skies and mountain silhouettes. Every Sunday, she watched virtual church with friends. Every evening, she locked her doors. Every morning, she followed the same rhythm. Routine can be comforting. It can also be predictable. And according to investigators, predictability can make someone vulnerable. Nancy was last seen on January 31st.
First, breaking right now, major new developments in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. Sources telling ABC News the masked suspect shown in that doorbell camera.
It turns out that the key photo, the key break in Nancy Guthrie wasn't really explained to us in context the right way.
Hey guys, you guys remember that raid in Rio Rico, the first real raid related to the Nancy Guthrie case that I was at right near the Mexico border? There was a guy named Carlos.
The next day, February 1st, she failed to show up for her usual virtual church gathering. That was the first sign something was wrong. But what investigators would later uncover would turn this from a missing persons case into something far more unsettling.
Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother of NBC Today anchor Savannah Guthrie, was apparently abducted from her Tucson area home.
Okay, so let's start with the biggest development in the last 48 hours, and that was that major SWAT operation on Friday night. Now,
by now, most people are familiar with the broad outline of what happened. Nancy Guthrie disappears from her Tucson home.
The day. Everything changed. January 31st, evening. Nancy is last seen. Nothing unusual reported. No distress calls, no reports of suspicious activity.
Here we are back again, and wow, we really are seeing a lot of crime, aren't we? And this is pretty amazing because now we are on day 2.
Good morning, I'm Diana Macedo. We're coming on the air with a major development in the search for Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie.
On January 31st, Nancy Guthrie vanished from her home in the Catalina foothills of Tucson, Arizona.
February 1st, 1:47 a.m. According to Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos, the Google Nest doorbell camera at Nancy's home was disconnected. That detail alone raises questions. Why would someone disable a camera unless they knew it was there?
JLR investigates out here in front of Nancy Guthrie's home. No trespassing signs are getting put up right now.
That told him this case was fundamentally different from what the ransom communications would later claim it to be.
That video of the bad guy at Nancy Guthrie's front door, that from Supervisory Special Agent Dan Brunner, formerly of the FBI. He says they should have held on to it.
2:12 a.m. Multiple cameras inside the home detect motion. But here's the problem. Nancy did not have a subscription plan that stored full video footage, which means most of what happened that night was never automatically preserved. The video should have been gone forever. But then, nearly 10 days later, the FBI announced something extraordinary. They had recovered images from residual back-end data.
February 10th, the FBI Director Kash Patel released those stunning, haunting images of this suspect approaching Nancy Guthrie's.
This morning, new questions about the timing of those chilling surveillance images of a masked suspect outside Nancy Guthrie's home on the morning she disappeared.
By now, most people are familiar with the broad outline of what happened. Nancy Guthrie disappears from her Tucson home.
According to FBI Director Kash Patel, investigators worked with private sector partners to extract still images from back-end systems. That alone suggests technical complexity, but it also introduces uncertainty, because the images recovered had no visible timestamps, and that's where things start to fracture. The investigation begins. Nancy was reported missing around noon on February 1st. Local authorities responded first, then state resources, then federal.
A police dispatcher sent out an alert about a woman hanging out of the window of a car. Savannah Guthrie's gut-wrenching appeal and her offer of $1 million reward has already brought 750 credible tips.
We are keeping close tabs on this story, and of course we're going to keep you updated once we learn more information for the story.
Within days, the case drew international attention. An elderly woman missing from her own home, possible abduction, masked intruder. Authorities allege the masked individual appeared to tamper with the Google Nest camera. In the still images, the suspect is described as average build, approximately 5 feet 9 inches to 5 feet 10 inches, wearing dark clothing, gloves, a black 25-liter Ozark Trail hiker pack backpack sold exclusively at Walmart. The specificity of the backpack detail caught attention.
Investigators are examining new pieces of evidence in Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. They're also working to prioritize which leads to follow after receiving more than 18,000 calls in this case.
FBI Special Agent Lance Lysing says the video images could be the key to helping investigators break the case.
Specifically for the 31st of January and the morning of the 1st of February. And then they wanted to know if we saw anything suspicious on our cameras.
Why mention the brand? Because investigators were likely hoping someone would recognize it. But then came the first complication. One of the images released by the FBI showed the masked man without a backpack. And according to 2 law enforcement sources familiar with the investigation, that particular image may have been taken earlier, not on the morning she disappeared. If true, that changes everything.
On the set of NBC's Today Show. News Nation senior story editor Paula Froelich is here with more. Paula, Savannah Guthrie's husband, Michael Feldman, he took time to travel to New York City amid his mother-in-law, Nancy Guthrie's disappearance.
Chilling 911 call was made to police the night Nancy Guthrie was kidnapped.
No, but it's close to her home around the time she was taken. We can't really discount anything.
Getting some breaking news in the investigation into the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. Michael Ruiz with Fox News Digital saying this.
The first major twist. On the left, masked man, no backpack. On the right, masked man wearing backpack. The FBI initially indicated both images came from the same camera on the morning of February 1st, but NBC News reported that 2 law enforcement officials stated the image without the backpack was captured earlier. That introduces a troubling possibility.
Showing the flowers right now, and that's a point that I made. When he bends over to get the flowers, he illuminates that light for a second. That means he could have dropped some spit droplets.
A targeted scenario, by contrast, requires fewer leaps. Someone familiar with the house would already know whether the camera was actively monitored or merely present.
Was the suspect at Nancy's home before the disappearance? Was this surveillance, planning, or is it simply misinterpretation? Sheriff Chris Nanos responded firmly. According to him, there are no timestamps attached to the images, and any suggestion that one was taken earlier is, in his words, purely speculative.
Investigation, authorities have asked neighbors for surveillance footage going back all the way to January 1st, a full month before the kidnapping.
Nancy Guthrie has now been missing from her Tucson, Arizona home for more than 18 days, with investigators continuing to hold out hope that she is still alive.
So I thought it was just remarkable to be able to recover with this level of clarity this video, because this could be a huge development. It is a huge development in this case.
He emphasized that investigators follow the rules of evidence and currently have no proof that image was from a different day. So now we have 2 competing narratives, federal implication, local caution. Which one is correct? And if the images lack timestamps, how certain can anyone be about the sequence of events? Deeper analysis. Let's pause, because this is where details matter. Nancy's doorbell camera was disconnected at 1:47 a.m. Investigators believe most of the porch images are from February 1st because they show the doorbell being tampered with. But if one image lacks context and possibly predates that moment, it introduces a new psychological layer.
Personally, the one who knows where every single thing was found, isn't it true that all the gummies, with the exception of the gummies that were found,
early on, the sheriff, who did a lot of interviews and was saying different things, but he said that she was literally plucked from her bed. He kind of walked that back a little bit. But then in that video...
First of all, are you being unfairly portrayed as being not working with the FBI or cooperating at all?
If someone was there earlier, that suggests surveillance. If someone was studying her routine, that suggests planning. And if someone was confident enough to return, that suggests familiarity. But there's another angle. What if the backpack image and non-backpack image represent 2 separate visits, even within the same night? Could the suspect have approached once without equipment, then returned prepared? Authorities have not confirmed that, and without timestamps, the sequencing becomes interpretation. Interpretation becomes theory, and theory becomes online speculation.
The Nancy Guthrie kidnapping case has entered a troubling and highly complex phase, sending shockwaves through Catalina foothills.
Nancy Guthrie has now been missing from her Tucson, Arizona home for more than 18 days.
Today are like very small. They're like less than an inch. And it's just new technology, amazing antennas that can pick this up. And some people might say, well, what's the advantage of that? Well, think about looking at nighttime.
Second major reveal: DNA. Just when investigators thought the case might hinge on digital recovery, DNA changed the equation. Authorities discovered multiple sources of DNA in and around the crime scene, but testing yielded no immediate matches. Not in CODIS, not in known associates. Sheriff Nanos later stated the sample is mixed, containing genetic material from at least 2 individuals. Mixed DNA complicates everything.
Authorities in Arizona say the DNA submitted for FBI testing in the search for Nancy Guthrie, who has not been seen all month, did not come back with any matches.
They told us that they had recovered 16 gloves in total. One of them, found about 2 miles away, matched the one that was seen on that doorbell camera.
There is a major development in the search for Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Today Show co-host Savannah Guthrie.
Takes longer to separate, it introduces ambiguity. But investigators are now using forensic genetic genealogy, the same method that has solved decades-old cold cases. This process compares crime scene DNA to public genealogy databases to identify distant relatives. But here's the complication. If the DNA is mixed, it may be far harder to isolate a usable profile. And if the masked man wore gloves? Where did the DNA come from? Was it left intentionally? Was it secondary transfer? Or could it belong to someone else entirely? Each possibility points in a different direction.
To another challenging story that we have now been following for more than 2 weeks. This is the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother of
Guthrie making a new plea to her mother, Nancy Guthrie's apparent kidnappers. It's never too late to do what's right.
As it enters a 24th day, 2 law enforcement sources are telling NBC News that one of those doorbell camera images of the suspect.
Internet, theories, and controversy. As soon as NBC reported the timestamp discrepancy, the internet erupted. Some questioned the FBI's handling of evidence release, others questioned the sheriff's pushback. A few went further. Was the image without a backpack evidence of earlier stalking, or was it unrelated entirely? Could the same person have visited the house on multiple occasions? Or, and this is where speculation gets dangerous, could more than one person be involved? Authorities have not publicly identified any suspects.
Guthrie, the FBI says DNA from an unknown male has been recovered from a glove found about 2 miles from Guthrie's home.
This morning, we are learning Savannah Guthrie does intend to return to work at NBC's Today Show at some point in the future.
Still no suspect or suspects named as this investigation continues now into week 4.
Persons of interest, no arrests, which creates a vacuum. And in that vacuum, theories grow. But here's what doesn't add up. If someone planned this carefully enough to disable cameras, why leave DNA? If someone intended to kidnap, why no ransom demand? If this was opportunistic, why the precise camera targeting? Every scenario leaves something unresolved. Current status of the case. As of now, Nancy Guthrie remains missing. No confirmed sightings, no public suspect. No confirmed timeline for the disputed image. Investigators continue processing DNA through forensic genealogy. According to officials, that process can take weeks, sometimes months.
However, with this level of clarity, this video, because this could be a huge development, it is a huge development in this case.
Innes spoken publicly about the case several times. In comments to the New York Post, he said that he would support, quote, the most severe federal penalties if those responsible are identified and Guthrie is harmed.
Cover the raid as the desperate search for Nancy intensifies. And joining me now is former FBI Supervisory Special Agent Jason Pack.
The Sheriff's Department continue working jointly, but subtle tension remains in public statements. One side acknowledging possibilities, the other urging caution against speculation, and somewhere in between, a family waiting for answers, a masked man, a disabled camera, an 84-year-old woman gone without a trace. One image may not belong to the night she disappeared, or it might. Right now, investigators say there is no evidence proving it was taken earlier, but absence of proof is not proof of absence. If that image predates February 1st, it suggests planning. If it doesn't, then the entire timeline compresses into minutes. Either way, something happened between 1:47 a.m. and sunrise. And until timestamps are confirmed, until DNA speaks, until someone explains why that porch was visited, one question will linger. Was Nancy Guthrie the victim of a carefully planned abduction? Or are investigators still missing a crucial piece of a much larger puzzle? Because sometimes, the most important evidence is the detail that doesn't quite fit.